Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to go over my March TBR. So I actually have several videos planned for the month with TBRs that I will not disclose in this video, but if you know anything about me, if you've watched any of my previous TBR videos, you will know that I am determined to constantly make my TBR bigger than it needs to be. So aside from the books that I want to read for those videos, I have about 19 books that I want to read for the month. So the first book that I want to try to get through this month is Dune. This is the first book in the Dune series, and this is a sci-fi series. It is set on a desert planet, and it follows a boy named Paul. He would avenge the treacherous plot against his noble family and would bring to fruition humankind's most ancient and unattainable dream. I want to watch the movie, and I'm interested in getting into this series. We will see how I like this one. I'm pretty confident of the fantasies that are on my TBR for this month. This is probably one that I'm going to enjoy. I'm not a huge science fiction person, but I'm still always willing to give it a shot. So then I'm going to attempt to read again Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. This is a popular fantasy series right now. If you don't know, it's about a boy named Rand. Well, it follows about 5 people, but the main character's name is Rand, and he is visited by this essentially like sorceress who tells him that one of the 5 people from his village are going to be the end of the world or the savior of the world, and they have to go on an adventure to discover who the savior is. And obviously we know it's gonna be Rand, but you know, this has 14 books, and honestly I'm pretty excited to get to the end of the series because if you don't know, Robert Jordan died, and the last couple of books are written by Brandon Sanderson, who is my favorite fantasy author. So I'm excited to get into another long fantasy series. So the next long book that I plan to read for the month is House of Sky and Breath, and I'm not confident how well I'm going to enjoy this. I didn't love the first one. They're roughly about the same page length, I think, but I'm not sure if I'm willing to endure this for how much I enjoyed the first one. But essentially this is an urban fantasy series about this girl named Bryce, and in the first one some events take place that set her on a path for revenge and kind of like a murder mystery plot. She is paired up with an angel to figure out the murder mystery, I guess is the best way to sum this up. But it's quite in-depth fantasy world, urban fantasy world, and by that I mean it's all info dump. Things that I've read, I liked the second book in the ACOTAR series more. I didn't like Game of Thrones, wow. I didn't like Throne of Glass at all, so I actually didn't make it past halfway through the second book, but I liked the ACOTAR original trilogy. I haven't read anything beyond the original trilogy. Anyways, I'm interested to see how I feel about this. As you may know if you follow me on Instagram or you've been watching my recent updates, I have been in love with horror recently. I'm actually been buddy reading some things, so I wanted to add some horror slash mystery slash things that I've just heard good things about in that kind of realm. So the first thing that I want to read is Night Bitch. I don't know much about this, but I think it's about a woman who slowly starts taking on the characteristics of a dog. I don't know if she like thinks she's a dog, if she's like actually becoming a dog. I don't really know, but I really desperately want to find out. And then I want to read The Push. This seems to be a story about a woman who is quasi-forced into motherhood, and she doesn't feel any connection to her daughter, her first child, and she seems to think that there's like something wrong with her first child, and her husband is like, there's nothing wrong, I don't know what's going on, and there's no like motherly connection there. And then she has her son, and she feels that bond with her son, and I think I'm not quite sure what the like horror aspect is or what, but I've heard that it's extremely disturbing. So I don't know what that means, but we're gonna check it out. Then I want to read The Last House on Needless Street. This is a haunted house story. I don't know much else other than that. I love the cover, and I'm always looking for a good haunted house story, even though I haven't really found ones that I've loved. I then want to read The Death of Jane Lawrence. This is the story of a woman who gets married to this guy, and he tells her, I don't care what you do with your life, but you can't go in the basement, I believe, is like the plot, or you can't come out at night, something along those lines. And I believe it might be some sort of like werewolf situation. I don't know. Again, love the cover, so we'll see how that one goes. So then to kind of go into like the mystery aspect, I want to read Big Little Lies. I watched the season 1 of the TV show and I really liked it. I'm not huge like mommy drama sort of person, but I think it could be interesting. I've listened to podcasts about the show, I've watched videos about the show, I've watched the show, so I'm interested to see if I enjoy the book. And then I also want to read Finley Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead, which is the second book in the Finley Donovan series. I don't know what this one in particular is about, but it's sort of like this absurdist mystery about a woman named Finley Donovan who is a single mother, and she is at lunch with her publicist one day and it's talking about the plot of her next book. And a woman overhears her talking and thinks that she's a hit woman for hire and hires her to kill her husband. And it just goes off the rails. And the first one wrapped up with a lot of plot threads is still open. So I'm interested to see how this one goes as well. It's just a super fun listen. And the whole time you're just telling Finley that she's an absolute idiot, and it just like doesn't get any better, so it's super fun. I do have a nonfiction on my TBR. I want to read Hood Feminism. This is a nonfiction book about feminism in all of the intersectionalities that go along with that. The last non-romance book that I want to read is Acts of Desperation. So this says it is a blistering anti-romance about love addiction and what it does to us. Follows a woman who, in the first scene, the unnamed narrator meets a magnetic rider and falls against her better judgment, completely in his power. He abruptly rejects her, sending her in a tailspin of jealousy and obsession. So now to get into the romances that I have on my TBR for the month. So the first book that I'm interested in reading is The Lady Gets Lucky by Joanna Shupe. I haven't read anything by this author before, but I have heard fantastic things about this. It's a rake and a wallflower, I'm pretty sure. And I think this is a lessons in seduction between the hero and the heroine. I think the heroine is like a wallflower. She's tired of being overlooked, so she enlists the help of the hero to teach her how to seduce a man. We then have The Duchess Hunt by Lorraine Heath. This is the second book in this Once Upon a Dukedom series. I gave the first one 4 stars. This follows the Duke of Kingsland. He's in need of a duchess. He places an advert encouraging single ladies of the ton to write why they should be chosen. And the heroine is his secretary, who is in charge of picking his next duchess, but she's like in love with him. We then have The Madness of Lord Ian Mackenzie, and all I really know about this is the hero is autistic and he has been placed in a mental health facility to basically keep him away because they don't really know what to do with him. Is like lives all alone on his estate, and she comes across his piece of land and they spark up a relationship. Next up, I want to read A Taste of Her Own Medicine. This I heard Brie from 11 Words talking about, and this is a small town romance, and it follows Sonia, who wants to re-enter the task force after divorcing her husband. She signs up for a 6-week course for entrepreneurs, hoping that she will learn something to build a business. And I think she starts up a relationship with the professor of the business course. We then have Bad Boy Blues. This is one, it's on my 5-star predictions list of 2022, and it is by Saffron A. Kent, who I have read 2 things from. One I absolutely loved, one I didn't super love, so I'm hoping this one is more the former than the latter. It is a high school bully. I could be incorrect, but it sounds as if she is possibly her new stepbrother or something along those lines. It just says that they hate each other and then she has to move into his mansion. So we will see how that one goes. I'm hoping that it's as good as I'm expecting it to be. We then have Devrim's Court, and I'm actually reading all 3 books in this series, and this is for the Brianna Hale backlist read-along, and I'm not quite sure what this one is about, but something along the lines of like royalty or something like that, and like this is not Tamika's favorite, so I'm not expecting the best things, but hopefully because I have low expectations, I will enjoy it. Then have Sea of Ruin, and this is the book club pick for the Dark Maidens book club that I co-host with Letitia from Books and Bees, and this is a dark romance. It is about a woman pirate, I believe, and there are several instances of captor-captive. I believe there is a love triangle or a polyamorous relationship. I'm not sure which it is, but I'm expecting great things. I love this cover. I'm very excited for it. I have read one thing by Pam Godwin. I read Dark Notes, and it was so good, so I'm hoping this one is equally as good. The last book that I have planned to read is It Ain't Me, Babe. This is part of this like motorcycle series, and I am buddy reading this with Letitia, so she has already read this book, so I need to quickly read this one so we can read the next book in the series together. But I believe the heroine like gets out of a cult. When she's in the cult as a kid, she sees the hero who is the like prince of a motorcycle club, and then she leaves the cult and meets him again, and he's mute or something along those lines. I haven't read anything by this author before, but I think this is like one of her more popular titles. I'm really hoping I enjoy it. I'm not a huge like motorcycle club fan, but we'll see how that goes. So those are all of the books that I want to read in March. Let me know down below your thoughts on any of the books that I talked about or any of the books that you want to read this month. I would love to know. Other than that, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in my next one.
Sitting in silence, we still feel the vibe, but you could not say a word, and I know what you just decided. We'd be right in the same wave. Oh, the water's perfect, babe.